Hello everyone, I'm Irma Baker. Welcome to our show. You know, it's always so much fun to introduce you to local authors that are just bringing us all this great enjoyment through books. And our guest today, she's new to our show. I finally had a chance to bring on Bailey Abbott, Catherine Long, under those two names. Hi, so welcome to our show.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. This is lots of fun.
Oh, yes. It's just, well, as my viewers know, I love mysteries, especially. I love any kind of books, but mysteries especially. And I've enjoyed yours so much. I'm glad you can come on the show today.
Oh, that's so wonderful. That's probably one of my favorite things about writing is having readers respond and saying how much they enjoyed the books. That's probably one of my favorite things.
Well, you had a career first as a teacher, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I always call myself a Johnny-come-lately because everything, it seems, career-wise that I've done has come later in life. For instance, I decided to go back to school and work on the education degree when I was 36, 37, somewhere around there. And then I got the degree, and then I started substitute teaching, and I did that for 5 years. And I had already had a family, had 3 young children, so I was very limited in what I would have been able to take, how far away it would be from our home in Greene. So I subbed for 5 years, and I was almost at the point where I was going to give it up, but then I was offered a tutoring position. And so I decided to take it because it came with some benefits. It was full-time, and I did that while I was working on my special ed certification. And then in '99, when, my goodness, I would have been in my late 40s by then, I was able to get a permanent position teaching special needs kids at Greene High School. And I did that for many years, and then I retired 10 years ago. But the writing, that has always been there. I started writing when I was just a little kid. I went on to join our high school writers club, and then did some writing while I was going to college and stuff, but never really seriously pursuing it. And then my story is that right before my 50th birthday, I remembered that I had made a promise to myself if I didn't write at least a full-blown novel, that I was just going to give it up because it wasn't going to happen. So that's what pushed me to write Oklahoma's Gold, and that was my very first book. That was published in 2004, and I've been at it ever since.
So you really came to writing as kind of a sideline through other careers.
Yes, I did. I actually, like I said, I wrote and got Oklahoma's Gold published in 2004, so I was still, like full-time teaching and everything. So that by the time, and then I self-published a series called My Lily M Mysteries, and I did that from 2011 till probably the fourth one was 2015. So I was writing those also while I was full-time teaching. But here's the thing, with the teaching, you can have summers off. So I took full advantage of that during the summer. I'd say, okay, school's out for the year. I need to hurry up and get a book done before it starts up again in the fall. So that was usually my routine when it comes to that.
Well, when you put it together, you're now writing 2 series under 2 names. You are Catherine Long, and you are also Bailey Abbott.
Yes.
So you really kind of doubled up on yourself.
I did. I mean, it'll probably, some readers will probably be sad to hear that the B&B series, Sarah Pine's B&B series that I have with, under my name, Catherine Long, I decided after book 3 that I wasn't going to continue it. And then I was going to focus on the Bailey Abbott, the Paint by Murder mysteries. And so book 3 in that will come out next year, I'm hoping by spring. I had to, unfortunately, what happens to a lot of authors, I had to switch publishers, so I'm now going to be with Level Best Books to continue the series. But I have a contract to write 3 more, so I got to plug out 3 more in the next 3 years. So that one will go on. But I'm hoping to write something under my real name, Catherine Long, at some point again.
Well, I hope that that it does continue as Bailey Abbott and as Catherine Long, because I've read them under both names, and we have some of them up here on the table in front of us. And those are, I enjoy them so much. And the settings are so different. You know, in the B&B series, which is still available, it's simply you're not writing anything new in it.
There won't be a book 4, is what I'm trying to say.
But that one takes place fairly close.
No, that one takes place in California.
Oh, that's the one in California.
Yeah, the other one is kind of close to me. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not real close, but I can talk a little bit about that, why I chose. Okay, so for the B&B series, it takes place in California, so it would be, my fictional town would be maybe a couple hours away from Hollywood. And the reason why I did that and chose that is because what inspired me to write it was my love of classic movies and my love affair with Cary Grant. I often say that if in another life we would be husband and wife, because I just adore that man in all his movies. And what happened was I was watching, because I rewatch them every once in a while, I was rewatching Arsenic and Old Lace. And it started to give me an idea. I thought, wow, wouldn't it be fun, because I was thinking of the characters and everything, to write a B&B mystery series that had characters that had either were at present or had been in the show business profession. And so that's what gave me the idea. And then how I interjected anything about show businesses, the 2 sister and brother duo that helped take care of the B&B. They used to be in show business, and Gladys Bellwether always loves to quote, like lines from movies and say, oh, that reminds me of Humphrey Bogart in The Maltese Falcon, and how, so I was able to interject that in there. So that's what made the idea come to light. And anybody that's seen Arsenic and Old Lace would probably see the connection, because the Bellwether siblings are very much like the Brewster sisters in Arsenic and Old Lace. But anyway, that's how that series came about.
So when you're writing, you are really enjoying your characters.
Oh my gosh. I would say that my books are very much character driven. Some mysteries might be more plot driven. I think mine kind of give an even balance, but I like to make my characters really interesting. They could be quirky, they could be snarky, they could be just about anything. They're not all, even though cozy mysteries, readers like to have their cozy characters, except for the killer in the book. They like them to be all sweet and sunshine, and I don't do that. Just ask me about the Paint by Murder mysteries, and I will tell you some of the comments I've gotten about the sister duo that run the painting business, because the one sister is a little bit much, and readers have said that. I don't care for her, and I'm going, I'm sorry, but not everybody is all, sunshine and roses. So characters are very important to me, and I do grow to love them as I go on with the writing.
Well, when you talk about cozy mystery, that is a very sweet and light, the very lightest end of the traditional mysteries. But you're really writing traditional mysteries with a leaning toward cozy.
There are just some rules about writing cozies that authors try to adhere to, like the murder happens off screen, off stage. You won't have any of the gore that might come along with finding the murder victim. There's usually no or very little profanity that is spoken in the dialogue. There's usually I would say probably the characters might engage in, like maybe a kiss or a hug, but there's not going to be anything that might go along in the bedroom will be behind doors, so you won't have any of that. And usually it's an amateur sleuth. You don't find, right away, if a traditional mystery is written, you might have a detective or a police officer or, somebody very professional. You won't usually have that in a cozy mystery. It's usually something that they're doing on the side, which might, make it a little bit more unbelievable, but I think readers come to accept that with cozies. I mean, really seriously, how many murders can you have happen in a small little cozy town? That's beyond belief, but people usually accept it no matter what. Yeah.
So you kind of straddle the line between the pure traditional and the very light,
Yes.
almost fantasy
Yes,
type of
yes.
the cozy mystery.
Right. I try to, reach the limit. I've not, again, like I say, my cozy characters in The Brush by Murder and Kill 'Em with Canvas, you will see that there are characters in there that, maybe the way they act, because they're two young women, they're like 25 and 26 years old. So, of course, they're going to act like 25 and 26-year-olds. And they're not going to necessarily be, like these prim and proper ladies, the old ladies you would find in some, cozy mysteries and whatnot. So, yeah, I do break that boundary. But I also have written traditional mysteries, like my book Buried in Sin that came out in 2019. That's very traditional, but it's also very soft sell. It's doesn't have a lot of gore or grittiness to it that you might find, but it's definitely not a cozy. So I've gone both directions. I will tell you right now, and this is the first time I've really told anyone, that I am really thinking about, beyond continuing the Paint by Murder mysteries, I'm really thinking about going more back into traditional and have something that's just a little bit meatier, a little grittier, to go down that route again. So we'll see.
Oh, so we have a lot to look forward to. Well, tell us about the Paint by Murder.
Oh, yes. Well, because people usually ask me, where do you get your ideas? How did you get inspired? Usually it's by personal experience. And like I said, with the interest in, classic movies and that inspired me with the B&B series. But with the Paint by Murder mysteries, actually where that came from was inspired by two things. Number one, we have a cabin in Pennsylvania, northwestern Pennsylvania, and probably about 40 minutes north into the southwestern corner of New York State, there's a place called Bemis Point. And we usually will visit there every time we go up to our cabin. We'll, just take a trip up north to visit Bemis Point. And it's along Chautauqua Lake. So anybody that's read the Paint by Murder mysteries are probably thinking, oh, Chautauqua Lake, I remember her, mentioning that. Well, what I did is I took the town of Bemis Point, which is, I highly recommend it if anybody's up in that area to stop and see it. It's just so picturesque along the lake, all the businesses. They have a ferry that will take you from one side of the lake over to the other side. You take your car with you if you want, and then you're able to get across the lake that way. It was something that started in the 1880s and then just continued on now as a touristy thing, because people could just go down the road and get on the viaduct and go over there with their car. They don't have to take the ferry. But there are things like that. They used to have a floating amphitheater where they would do concerts and movies and stuff, and they've since moved that to another location. But all those things kind of inspired me that, I want to make a series with that town, but I'm going to change it. The name's going to be Whisper Cove, and have that as my setting because it's just perfect for what I want to do.
And it gives you the latitude
Yes.
to change streets and
Yes.
landmarks and all
Yeah.
that. Make it your town.
Right, yeah. One of the first things I was advised to do is sit down and draw a map. Draw a map of the town, like the streets, how you want them to be. That way, whenever you have the characters going from one place to another, you know that you're supposed to turn right, not left. And that really helps because I am directionally challenged, I think. But anyway, and then the other thing that I experienced that kind of made me think, oh, what kind of business could I give them, was doing a painting event party business where people come and they paint, through the instruction of the people who own it, and paint a canvas. It could be a picture of a dog. It could be a picture of Santa Claus. It could be just about anything. Well, several years ago, my daughter talked me into going to Painting with a Twist. Now, here's the thing. I am not artistic. My idea of art is drawing stick figures. So I really did not want to go. I thought, oh, this is going to be disastrous. And she said, no, it doesn't matter. It'll be fun. We'll go and we'll drink a little bit of wine and we'll paint. We'll have fun. So I said, okay, fine. So I went, and the amazing thing is that the picture, I think it was at Christmas time, so it would have been like of a snow globe or something. And it actually turned out pretty decent. I think, I drew that. Oh my gosh, I painted that. But they do such a wonderful job with the instruction that you can't go wrong, even with somebody like me. But anyway, so I thought that would be a really neat business for the sisters to have, because hardly anybody had written that in Cozy Mysteries. They write about B&Bs, they write about bookstores, they write about libraries, they write about coffee shops, but how many have written about a painting event business? And so that's the reason why that came about. So,
but at that, the one you're writing about in the Paint by Murder series, there are murders.
Yeah, I know. And it's like you wouldn't have expected those things to happen. For instance, the main character, Chloe, she had been living in New York, and when her sister, Izzy, asked her to come home and help her open this business, she thought, well, this is a perfect time, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to come home, I'm going to help my sister, and we'll see what happens. So, of course, within the first week of being home, she's out back and she finds the dead body of the town editor, who nobody really liked, because, of course, whoever gets killed, you want to make them maybe a despicable character in the book, right? So, but here she is being accused of murder when all she did was open up the back door to put out the trash, and there that lady was. So, yeah. And then with the second one, it happens at the ferry that I renamed the Whisper Cove Ferry, right? And, just by chance, somebody got on somebody's nerves or whatever, and then they end up dying. So the sisters just seem to be in the thick of it. They always seem to be in the right place, wrong time, or wrong place, right time, and this is what happens.
Well, what kind of relationship is there, or tell us about the character of the two sisters?
Oh my goodness. Well, they're only a year apart, so they practically grew up together. Chloe, the one that came from New York, the whole family is a family of artists. Their parents are kind of what I'd call the flower children of the probably of the 80s, because they would have been young then. So what they all do is they have this relationship that makes them very connected because of the art, and at the same time, the personalities between the two sisters are so polar opposite. I mean, Chloe, just by appearance, she's this very short, rather curvy, short black hair. And then here's her sister, who is tall and willowy and with this long, beautiful curly brown hair and could be a model at any given time. Izzy, being a year younger than Chloe, she's a little bit selfish and self-centered sometimes, but she really loves her sister, and she would do anything for her. And Chloe feels the same way about Izzy. And then the parents, oh my goodness, they're like Mama and Papa Bear. You don't say anything against their daughters, otherwise you're gonna have to answer to them. So it's just a really fun relationship among the four of them, for sure.
Well, do they react differently when they get involved with, however extraneously, they get involved in these murder cases?
Oh, yes. Izzy, for all her extrovert qualities, is also very high-strung and nervous. She hiccups a lot when she gets nervous, and she's the one that would rather, Chloe is very impulsive. She just digs right in. That's probably why Chloe has made a lot of mistakes in life, because she's so impulsive and she's just driven by action. And so Chloe is the one that will say, hey, we need to get on this. We need to do something about it. But then Izzy is the one that will hold back a little. But then gradually, as you get into book 2, you see Izzy changing a little bit. She's becoming more of like, hey, let's be the sleuthing sister duo. We'll go out and we'll solve this crime, which kind of, takes Chloe aback, because she's thinking, who are you and what'd you do with my sister? Because this is not like you. So yeah, they do have, I would say Izzy is a type A personality who likes to have everything organized. And so Chloe kind of brings a counterbalance to her, because Chloe is the fly by the seat of your pants and do whatever, you think might be fun. So 2 different personalities for sure.
What can you tell us about the book you're working on now that's going to come out next year?
Okay, the title of it is called Easier Dead Than Drawn. And it's going to involve, which isn't happening, unfortunately, but it's going to involve the floating amphitheater coming back to Whisper Cove. And, everybody's excited about it, but there's some things that are not going as well as planned. For instance, Chloe, we get introduced to a new character. It's actually Chloe's former roommate in college, and also she lived with her for a while in New York City, and she's a very famous wall muralist. What I try to do, by the way, is I try to give a different art form that gets introduced into each book. So in this one, the idea is that there will be wall murals, and I try to do a little, without getting too how to do kind of message, I try to interject like, how is this process go? What is involved in this art process? So I do throw things in there about painting wall murals. So she's hired to come to Whisper Cove to do this wall mural. And unfortunately, bad things happen, and that's all I'm going to say.
Well, no, we don't want you to give it. No spoilers here. No spoilers here.
Yeah. But that's what's kind of fun about it. I like that part of researching, is when I want to find out how something is done. And what gave me the idea, again, I just pick things up through my own personal life. I had a good friend. He passed away recently. His name was Rustin Baker, and he was very famous for his wall murals. He would, I met him once, I got to talk to him for a while. He was a very interesting person, but he would travel all over the world. He would be commissioned to paint wall murals. It could be anything from the side of a barn to like a huge building. And so that I found very, very interesting. So then I never got a chance to talk to him about it again when I decided to put it in this book. But then I started researching, YouTube videos are the greatest. You can find everything on YouTube videos. So I started researching about, artists, painting wall murals and stuff. And so I learned a lot about it just through that. And then like I said, I'm incorporating a little bit of that into the book. So.
Well, since you mentioned that, what are the art forms that are in the first 2 books?
Well, in the first one, we get introduced just to the basics of the paint party business, and having, guests come in and paint, like whatever they have on their agenda, their schedule. One of the things that I introduced, and I actually had somebody comment, a reader comment about that, how they had never heard of that. Well, the only reason why I know is because with Painting with a Twist has had that before, where you paint your pet. And so I introduced that, and what happens, the process is that you send pictures into Painting with a Twist, And what they do is they'll do like a sketch of that pet. And then what happens is, because everybody's going to have a different one, right? And then when they come in, they will go around and help instruct with them, on how to paint their pets. So that was just the basics in book 1. And then what I did in book 2, I really didn't take it much out of that arena, but what I did is I said, okay, now the business is going to go on the road a little bit. So that's why every once in a while they'll get invitations to, like it might be a wedding party, it might be, and in the case of book 2, it's for the ladies of Chautauqua. They have like their own historical type of group or whatever. So they're commissioned to go to that venue at that lodge and paint, an instructional painting of the building and the lake. So, and then I also have an idea for book 5 where there's a form of art that I learned about. If you go down to the Florida Keys, supposedly this is very popular, where if you catch a fish, and this is a very ancient form of, I think from China, where you catch a fish and you bring it into one of these shops, and what they'll do is they put it on rice paper or some type of paper that will adhere the image, and then the fish comes off, and then the artist will paint like the outline, and then you'll have that image of the fish. So I'm thinking about, I'd really like to put that in there at some point in one of the books.
Well, we have a lot to look forward to with the books you have out now and the ones that are coming. And I hope that you will all take advantage of finding Bailey's books or Catherine's books, whichever appeals most to you. And to me, it's both. So it's been a pleasure having you with us. It's been a pleasure having you tune in. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. For RSVP, I'm Irma Baker.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.